Hi everyone, this is April Cox. So this is week number 1 of our summer session of the author work group that is geared for new and aspiring authors. It is a free work group that Little Labradoodle Publishing, which is my company, we sponsor this to help new and aspiring authors to bring their new books to life. So we are going to be walking you through the self-publishing process as a part of this work group. As new individuals are joining, I do hear Beep says they're coming in a little bit late. No worries, guys. I've got everybody on mute, and you are welcome to go ahead and enable your video if you would like, or you can leave yourself on without the video if you're in a busy background or you just don't want to join that way. As I walk through the presentation today, you can feel free to stop and unmute yourself and ask questions along the way. However, I do have a session time slot dedicated for questions. So no fear, you'll be able to ask questions at the end as well. So now I'm going to share my desktop. My name is April Cox. For those of you that did not attend the informational session about these work groups, welcome. It's very nice to have you here, and I look forward to being able to get to know you better and work through your new books together as we kind of go through week to week on these work groups. So first of all, I just want to set the stage. We're going to run through the welcomes and introductions at the beginning of the meeting, talk a little bit about the group overview, some goals, some tools and resources that are available to you. And then I'm going to do an overview of the self-publishing process, because all too often people are so confused about what does this really contain? What is the self-publishing activities that I'm going to have to work through? So I'm going to do a high-level overview today, and do not fear. I don't want it to overwhelm you because there's a lot that goes into self-publishing, but you are part of this work group, and we're going to walk you through it and do the hand-holding that you need to get you exactly where you need to be for your book. So do not worry. We also have Q&A around 1:45. Try to stick on schedule, but if I need to stay later for anyone that has additional questions, I have no problem doing that. So I'll just a very quick thing about my journey. So I published so far 4 books. I've got 2 more on the way. I have over 30 years in business and IT consulting and have done a lot of business leadership and things like that. But publishing about a year and a half ago, or just almost 2 years ago, was new to me. And so as I started going through, there were a lot of things that were confusing, expensive, and extremely frustrating, just trying to navigate through all the different pieces and learn as I go. For me, I'm a consultant. I have an IT background, so that's kind of what I do, just learn new things, help people, make things easier. As I started to face all of these issues myself, and I started seeing all the postings in Facebook groups about how much trouble people were having. I just saw another one today. I don't know where to begin. I'm so lost. I have this story, but what's next? So I said, you know what? I know I can make it easier for people, and I know how frustrating it was for me. So that's kind of what prompted me to put this group together. I founded my company. I walked away from the corporate position that I had last year and started to continue to work on bringing my own books to market. But also, one of our key missions is helping to support the storytellers of the future. So this is, in fact, me being able to deliver on that mission for my company. It starts with authors like you, but also in the community doing writing workshops and things like that. So that's kind of my backstory and prompted this work group. Talk a little bit about the problems that we have that self-publishing. There's a lot of steps. There's a lot of pieces to self-publishing. And because of that, it really can cause a lot of confusion or uncertainty. Do I do it this way? Do I do it that way? If you're part of Facebook groups and you're posting questions, sometimes you'll get conflicting answers, or people will point you in a direction and then you're lost because you're on a website that has 40 different links on it and you don't know which one to go to. And sometimes I've even seen people are very curt and short, like, hey, go, we researched it, we did it ourselves, you can do it too. Or, hey, that's a newbie question. Go search this group for answers to your newbie question. I love new people. I love learning new things. I love teaching new things. So that's not going to be an issue here ever. So if you ever have a question you want to ask, there's never a stupid question. And I want you to know that I'm here to help support you through it. The other thing with self-publishing is you can miss steps. I did with my first book. I went through the whole process. And when I got a copy of Bobby Hinman's book, and Bobby Hinman is kind of my co-leader. She'll be in and out of these sessions. She couldn't make it to this one, but she will be leading the next group discussion around editing and writing your book. She also is the author of a book that we're going to use during our author work group that is creating a successful children's picture book. So when I got that book, I was blown away, and I thought, wow, this answers so many of the questions, and it walks me through so many topics that I had no idea that I even had missed. So we won't have that issue because we're going to go through it all together. And then there's a lot of lost time in rework. A lot of times, you go in one direction following somebody's advice, and then you have to switch gears and do it a different way. So also frustration and stalled progress. I can't tell you how many people have told me that they ran into so many issues that they just gave up on their story. And that's the one thing that I don't want to see anybody have to do. And that's why we're here to bring all these great new books to the market. This is the model that we put together and we worked through the first work group, and it has worked well. As we continue to move through the group, I'll ask you to provide me with some feedback as we go as to what's working, what's not working. We have the structure, which is provided by Bobby's book. We have accountability. So these weekly sessions, assignments, and things that you'll need to do along the way. We have tools and resources to support you, and I'll go through the list of those. Expertise, myself, Bobby, and a whole slew of people that will be coming in on a weekly basis based on the topic we're presenting. And also, this is us a community of people that are here to help and support one another. So I found even with the first work group, we got to session 12 and people were like, I don't want to stop, we're at the end and now what do we do? So I created an author, like a advanced forum on Facebook so that all of them could stay together, stay communicating, and so that I could still be there to help them with some of their more advanced topics now that they've graduated. So we have a whole group of people waiting to support you there as well once you're finished with this community, this group together. For our structure, we are going to utilize Bobby Hinman's book. I do have a link to it if you've not already purchased it. It is free if you're in Kindle Unlimited. It is, I think, $6, $6.99 for the Kindle version, and I forget, I think $20 or less than $20, $14, I think, for the soft cover. So we will utilize part of the structure. You're going to have reading assignments, and today we did not have anything due for week 1, but you do have a reading assignment for next week, and that's already posted on the message board. I'll switch over in a little while and show you the message boards, make sure everybody understands where to go and how to sign in. We'll have the meetings at 1 p.m. on Thursdays. This weekly meeting is a drop-in. Do not fear. I know things come up. If we have issues where you cannot make it one day, I'm recording each of these sessions, so you will have an opportunity to drop into the Tuesday evening meetings always. Those are optional. I'll post the link to the replay, typically that same night or the following morning. People will have the ability to drop in, check out the replay if they've missed the session. We also have, like as I mentioned, a parade of speakers, probably a dozen in the last work group session in 12 weeks. So we'll have specific topics, we'll have experts in those topics, because the way I look at it is I'm really good and I'm expert in certain things, and there are other things where I'm still learning. And I want this group to benefit from the best and brightest in the areas that we're teaching. So if we're talking about marketing, advertising, the business of publishing, you're going to have the best and brightest that I know and people that I've been able to reach out to bring them in to talk about that topic for the week. So I will be posting a list of speakers and topics so that you know what to expect, and also so that our previous work group, if they want to attend those meetings or those speaking sessions, that they also will be able to. And I just ask you to provide me with feedback and start a dialogue with me if you feel like you've got ideas on things that we could do better or ways of just improving and serving the community. And as a result of all of the feedback I got from the first work group, I was able to make some tweaks for this work group that's going to benefit all of you. And one of the ideas that was brought forward was to start the group with an overview of the self-publishing process. So you're benefiting from somebody bringing that idea forward, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate any feedback that I can get from you. Accountability, I just wanted to say that, number one, what accountability is not to me is me hounding you and saying every week by a certain day, you're going to publish a response to a message board question or a homework assignment, because I know we all have our own schedules. We have our own things that we need to do, and timing is not always the same for everybody. What I'm doing is providing active participation in these weekly meetings. Go in, complete your assignments. If you've got a reading assignment, you can work ahead, you can catch up if you fall behind. But, so accountability, I'm expecting that you all will be accountable for your own work, and you'll try to keep up with the class. If there are going to be things in the forum, you'll be able to post responses to things. We also have support available to you. I join these meetings every single week, 30 minutes ahead of schedule. So if you are reading a topic and you have questions, or you have a specific situation with your book and you want to talk through it, hey, I'm stuck on something we haven't covered yet, or I'm having a little trouble on something we have covered, I'm here a half an hour ahead. I have no problem staying after the meeting. And I'm also have made myself available for one-on-one coaching. You can schedule it through my website by going to thelittlelabradoodle.com, and there's a services link. And I do have a one-on-one session you can schedule for coaching. There's a coupon code that says first free, so because I do offer first coaching sessions free. But what I'll also do is, and you can use that one, but I'll also add a special code for work group attendees. If you are part of the work group and you need one-on-one coaching, I do not charge for that. That's something that I do as part of the work group. So you'll have access to me and no excuses why you get stuck and can't come back from that. So I really hope that all of these things will help keep you accountable. But I will not hound you. I may ping you and say, hey, how are things going? If I don't see that you're participating. But I know that we did lose some people in the last group for one reason or another. They had personal issues and they needed to drop. If that happens, you are more than welcome to attend the next work group. Although that work group is going to be a paid work group. I haven't worked out everything just yet. This is our last free work group. I'm hoping that we don't lose a bunch of people here. And I think we've got great participation and a lot of people here that will benefit. So let's try to focus on making sure that everybody is accountable and moving forward. Next, I just want to touch briefly on tools and resources. I'm going to make tools and templates available for you. For example, when we talk about contracts for like illustrators and editors and things like that, we'll go through when you need a contract. I have contract templates that I'm going to share with you. I spent a lot of money on that myself when I was setting things up for my own books. But I share with you some of the tools that I created, and you're welcome to use those in your own work. And there's no charge for any of that either. You will have the Zoom meetings and recordings. I will also make available to you, and I'll switch later. I'll just log into the message board so you have an opportunity to see how that works and how to move forward with that. We also have, the support of Bobby Hinman, myself, and others to help walk through that. So you'll have plenty of tools and resources as we go through the topic. If there are new tools or templates available, I will post it in the message board group. For example, when we go over illustrators, if there's an illustrator contract, actually I have like 3 different ones, I'll post links to all of them there. So every week we go through topics, you'll have all the links you need on that message board thread. Expertise, I think I talked about this, so I will go ahead and kind of just blur through this pretty quickly. There's going to be guest speakers. All of the shared experience we have with one another will also help each other along the way, and one-on-one assistance as needed. So let's talk about what you can do to make sure that you're successful. So the first thing is consistent participation, and it doesn't mean you have to be live. It does mean that you have to come either to a live meeting or check the replay, read the reading assignments and make sure that you are engaged. So that's a big thing. And there are going to be times when you fall behind. If you do, catch up, attend office hours. I said I'll have those, I call them office hours, but it's optional drop-in time, either before or after meetings on Thursdays or during that 2-hour slot in the evenings on Tuesday from 8 to 10. It's wide open, just anybody to drop in and talk through the weekly topics or anything else that they want help on, okay? And then lastly, the one-on-one coaching. If you really find yourself falling behind, you're lost, or you're at a position where you're either way ahead of the rest of the group or way behind, then the one-on-one coaching is a good option for you as well. And then in order to help with the program evolution, so a key to success here, I think about it, key to your success, but also key to my success and the success of this work group is feedback. And I did talk about that already, but that's, again, a key for us to keep improving this process as we go. So I'm going to stop there. If anyone has any questions before we get into the topic, the main topic for today, feel free to take yourself off of mute and just go ahead and ask your question on what I've covered already. Okay, no questions? All right. So I put together this graphic to talk to you about the process of self-publishing. And there's many things. I don't want you to think that you do one thing, then you do the next, then you do the next. There's a lot of overlap on the various things that go on with self-publishing. But let's talk a little bit about the areas that I kind of drag things into. And I'm going to click on this, and it actually goes to this link here is a live link that I will share in the forum for this week. So while I'm just clicking through things and expanding them, don't feel like you have to take a lot of notes on that. I will make this available so that you too can log in and look at this diagram. This is called a mind map. I love using these because I think they're really helpful in helping you to envision and organize yourself. So I put 4 different areas together. First is the goals and strategy. When we get together one-on-one doing a strategy session, these are the types of things that I like to get to talk to you about. First of all, what are your goals? There are some people that may have goals about, look, I just want to get published. I want to take this book that's a dedication to my mother, or it's about my son. I just want to have it published so that I can share it with family. And that's what I had started with doing for myself. I wanted to just publish books for my grandkids, and it kind of grew from there. But depending on what your goals are, you may have more things or less things to do. For example, when we talk about your goals, what do you need to accomplish your goals? What formats do you want to create for your book? There's Kindle, there's hardcover, there's softcover, there's audiobooks. So depending on answers to all these questions, you may have additional things that will add to the to-dos for your book. Besides goals of what it is you want to create, also need to get a sense of what things are you going to do yourself versus what things are you going to need help from others. For example, there are many authors, or there are some authors who are also illustrators. If they're going to illustrate their own book, well, that's a whole huge thing that they won't have to coordinate with somebody else. Hiring an illustrator, going through contracts and things like that. So all of this can be very much customized based on your own needs and goals. Okay, so you see this as a mind map. Just clicking on it expands the different things under it, or you can click on it again to collapse it. So when you go in here yourself looking around, you can feel free to do that. Why do you want to publish a book? What's your motivation and what is it that you want to create? Like I said, depending on why you want to publish, if it's a passion project or a legacy project, you just want to have something in writing, then that's a different thing than I want to make money, I want to make a business out of it. It's a different approach. It's a different, different things that we'll be concerned with. For example, if you want to make money out of your book, understand the business, the marketing, the advertising, and all the different things that go into making sure that your book is profitable. If you're doing it just for a legacy project, for example, where you want to leave things behind for loved ones, then you don't need to go through all that because you already have people that will be there to access your book and distribute it, or you can print out a number of them to distribute to your family. So these are some of the things you need to think about as you're getting ready to write a book or to publish your book. I think I talked about what resources or skills do you have or need. So again, what are you going to do yourself, and what services will you need from others? In some cases, you may want to get training on a certain topic because you want to do it yourself, but you need a little hand-holding. These kinds of things will come up as we talk through the process. What is your budget? I can tell you from my own personal experiences that you can come in with a very small budget and still create a book. I've seen illustrators charging as little as $15 a page to illustrate your book. I've seen as much as $500 a page to illustrate your book. So knowing what your budget is really important so that you are contacting the right people, and that we can get the help and kind of strategize what best can be done to meet your budget. Sound good? There are things like, how do you fund the book? So once you know this is basically what I would like to spend, or maybe you don't even have any clue what you need to spend, that's something that I can talk with you one-on-one, either before a meeting, after a meeting, or during a coaching call. There are certainly opportunities to self-fund your book, and there are also opportunities to do what we call crowdfunding. And crowdfunding is, you might have heard things like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. If you don't have the funds yourself, you can create a campaign with this software that allows others to support you, and you can raise the money. You're kind of pre-selling your book. But it requires a lot of planning, and we do have a crowdfunding guru that we bring in to talk through for people who are interested in that. That's one of the topics that we'll cover during the 12-week work group. If you don't have self-funding, that doesn't mean you can't do your book. There are other ways to go about it, but it is a lot of work to do the crowdfunding as well. These are different topics that are part of the goals and strategy for what you need to do for your own book. There is a cost for work for hire or professional services. For example, you may be somebody that doesn't need an illustrator. Maybe you are an author illustrator, or you have a friend or a family member that's going to illustrate the book. But there are other professionals that we can and will teach you about the types of things that you should pay for. For example, a professional editor. Graphic design services. You may need help with marketing or advertisement or things like that. So as we're talking about your strategy and your goals, you can start working through putting a budget together as you learn more about what's what the process will cost, and what additional resources that you'll need as you work through the process of creating your book. The other thing that is budget related is what type of print options that you will go for. There are print on demand services from Amazon, and there's a couple of other print on demand where you don't have to have a physical book. And I do this with my coloring books. I published through Amazon's print on demand service. So if you go online and you order a coloring book, I didn't have to pay to create it. You're ordering, and then based on your order, Amazon prints it and sends it to you. So that I had zero upfront dollars to set that up. I did not have to go to a printer and have them print coloring books and then send them to Amazon so that Amazon could send them to you. There is print on demand, and we'll talk about this as in much deeper as we go. There's print on demand. There are local printers, for example, US-based printers that are typically a little more costly than going out of the US, that you can print your books. And I did this with my hardcover. I had for my book, Puppy Pickup Day, I had it printed in hardcover, and it was beautifully done by Signature Printing. And I have a whole back room full of books, hardcover books that I'm storing and selling through Amazon. There are hardcovers. There are soft covers that you can either print from a printer, or you can do like I'm doing with my coloring books and have print on demand. There are pros and cons to all of this stuff. So that's why having like a one-on-one strategy session to kind of talk through this. What I would love to do with you is go through and take this map and say, okay, let's get the questions answered, and give you a resulting map, mind map, that's all of your own, that explains all the different pieces you'll have to go through and that this group will help you walk through, but whittle it down to only the ones that make sense and matter to you. We have an option for like China-based printing, or there's other countries that do low-cost printing as well. And I have not done anything with China, although I may in the future. The benefit is that it's much lower price to print your books that way. The negative is I'm not patient, and I don't like waiting for a slow boat from China. You could have to plan ahead. It's 3 months to get a book printed and then shipped to you. And like I said, it is a slow boat from China. I ended up when I printed my hardcover, the reason I chose USA-based printing is because I needed it really fast. I had only 6 weeks, I think, before Christmas, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss out on the Christmas rush. So for me, going through that as part of the timing was an issue. I also am somebody that really likes to be able to say proudly printed in the USA on my book. So for me, I was okay paying a little more to have the faster turnaround and to be able to keep it in the US. These are some of the areas where we'll talk about budgeting. Another part of goals and strategy to think about is, how are you going to market your book? There are a number of contacts and connections that you have. You have a social media following. There are influencers and bloggers out there. You may have media coverage that might be a part of your plan and your strategy to launch your book. There's also public relations. You can do a press release. There's advertising that you can do. There's lots of different things that go into strategizing. How do you want to roll out your book? And I would say one word that you'll hear me refer to is your author platform. When I say build your author platform, what I'm saying to you is you have an email address list. If you don't have one, you'll want to create one, because you're going to collect emails of people that you know and people that are interested in your books and in the things that you're doing. The worst thing in the world is to have a book ready to go, publish on Amazon, and then crickets. So getting ready and marketing your book, making sure you have a platform, which right now, I think my mailing list is around 1,200 people on my email list. And so when I announce, hey, I've got a new book coming out, I've got that list of people. I think I have 17,000 followers on Facebook. I have, I think, 1,300 on Instagram. I have thousands on LinkedIn. So I have a lot of people who are going to hear about my books just from there. And I also have people that I've trained and helped, like you and others, that when they see that I've published a new book or I have a new book coming out, they'll share it on their Facebook for me. So what you want to do is you want to create that. You want to create that buzz, and you want to create those people that are going to be your followers, your fans. And that's an important part of your book. So again, we're still in the goals and strategy session, right? This is just like thinking ahead of things that you're going to need to do. I think I talked about the word author platform. And again, that's email lists, social media, influencers and bloggers that you can reach out to and help with your social media. And I would say also people that are your fans or followers or friends that will buy the book, share the book, share, not only just share your post, but will say, hey guys, this is a great author. I know, who's been there to help others, or hey, I read this book. It's great. If you've got a little one with a birthday, you've got to grab this. So endorsing you, who are the people out there who are going to share, buy, endorse you? Like that's your author platform. So I'm going to stop at goals and strategy now, but those are some of the things we start with to look at. And that I just want you thinking about as you're working through your the work group and all of the stuff that we're going to do to create your book as well. I'm going to stop there for a second to see if anybody has questions about the goals and strategy before I move on to the next topic.
I had a question.
Okay.
How do I approach people to like ask for the email or kind of build that platform? I mean, I've been doing a little bit through social media within my translations and book reviews that I do, but like I'm not a published author, and like I don't know how to approach people and kind of be able to get that out there to create that buzz when it comes to the book I'm working on.
Yeah, what I did when I started, my book was about, was the topic of my book, or I should say the main character of my book was a little Labradoodle, which is my dog Brady. Mm-hmm. So, I was in a number of Facebook groups for Labradoodles. Mm-hmm. And so what I did is I started with the group and let them know that I was working on a new book and that it's going to star my Labradoodle. And then I asked people, I wanted to put together some coloring pages so that I could offer people coloring, Labradoodle fans, coloring pages that for their kids. And I would ask them to sign up for my email list, and I would send them like half a dozen coloring pages for their kids. So I thought that'd be a really good way of getting some email addresses of people who are Labradoodle lovers. So. Okay. And as we talk with Bobby and we talk with other speakers, they'll have ideas for you as well. But I did that, and then that turned into people. So I asked people in the Labradoodle groups, hey, do you want to send me a picture of your Labradoodle? And I'm going to have a coloring page made out of it for this. And then, of course, Labradoodle people are fanatical. Most other dog lovers are. So all of a sudden I had like 60 people all wanting coloring pages of their dogs. And I said, all right, I'm just going to make it a coloring book. So that's how, even before the book was going on, I was trying to figure out how to get email addresses. It turned into, all right, I'll put it in a book and I'll deliver it in a PDF. And then people were like, well, can we buy it? Can we buy the book? Like, I want a physical printout of it. And that's how my very first coloring book came to be. And actually I did both a kid's version and an adult version. And now I had two free coloring books that I offer for free. People can download and email addresses. So they can download the coloring books and they can print all their favorites for their kids as many times as they want. So that's what I did to kind of offer that.
Okay.
I'll show you. Now that I have my oops, first one. Now that I have my ebook, this looks a little odd. I had this a little differently. I messed myself up here, but I have this landing page that I put together to allow people to give me their email address, and I will give them a copy of the book. So it shows my little Labradoodle book, and all they have to do is sign up for an email and sign up with an email, and they get the link over here. So in their email, they get a link to this page, which brings them to the page and a download of my picture book, my coloring books, a literacy guide. I've got the audio book and an original song. So this is a great value. And if you like, you can feel free to come in and download. You can go directly to this link, PPUD, that's Puppy Pickup Day -download, and you can download any one, or you click on the bottom, the zip file, and you can get them all. So you'll download all of my resources, and I already have your emails because you signed up for the group, so don't worry about any of that. So, and then what else am I doing? I am offering my help to others like yourselves. You're getting free services from me, and I have your email, so that in the future, if I have other author services or if I have a book, you'll get a notification from me. So it's, I think if you think through it and talk through it, there's lots of ideas that'll come your way as a part of going through this work group together.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So the next part, and by the way, as you're working with this, you can just drag it anywhere. So as I'm opening different pieces, I can just easily just drag it so that we can see things better. So the planning, there's a resource plan. And forgive if I use words in a way that you don't quite understand. Feel free to just take yourself off mute and ask a question. I was a project manager for 20 years, and resource plan means what people are you going to need? What's your team going to look like? And how are you going to build them? Where are you going to find them? So as we're going through the process of planning for your publishing and for all the things you're doing, you think that just because you wrote a story and there's a lot to do, there's, getting to the next step of, okay, how do I publish it? Really, you need to go through the planning process. Where are you going to get the resources? Who's going to, you may need to finalize contracts, for example, with an illustrator, and research recommendations from other people. We will give you recommendations and people that we've already vetted that you are welcome to use. And I'll say right away, right off the top, that I do not have any arrangements with anybody that I recommend to you that I get a piece of whatever they sell. It doesn't work that way. If I share with you a specific person or service, it's because they've done really good for me, and this is my way of endorsing them so that others know that they can trust this resource as well. So there's a process of interviewing and selecting those resources. For example, if you're working with, or you're trying to hire an illustrator, just because I had luck with an illustrator doesn't necessarily mean that their style is going to be a good fit for you. You may have to interview 3 or 4 different people, pay a couple of them to give you some samples before you find that perfect fit. This is the person that you're going to be closely tied with, and will be, their name will be on that front cover with you. So you want to make sure that it's going to be someone that you can work with. And then there's also mentoring and support. And in the case of this work group, you'll find that here. For others that are going through the process, they go through Facebook groups and other things to get the support that they need. We talked about the financials and the financial planning. I won't go into depth on that. Crowdfunding plan is, you might need to figure out what you're going to do to get your crowdfunding. And that's just as a reminder, that's for people who really need to raise money for their book. Then there's part of the planning process. You probably won't start with book launch plan until you're at a point where your book is being already illustrated. And then you'll start thinking, okay, what am I going to do with book launch? What kind of marketing will I have to do? There's a lot of things that go into it. Building a launch team, setting yourself up for pre-orders, releasing your, kind of talking about how you're going to time your release so that you can really build momentum. And the number one goal for a book launch plan is to get you to a bestseller. And that's not as hard as you might think. We're not talking about New York Times bestseller. We're talking about within your Amazon category that you're releasing in, you want to be selling enough that you're going to get that bestseller badge, or you're the hot new book, or number one new release in your category. And that's not hard to do, but you have to know and plan for it. And we'll work through this as part of the things that we'll go through together in the group. Marketing plan is another thing we talked about. Book awards. Are you going to submit for book awards? Do you need to talk to bookstores, wholesalers? What are you going to do with social media? You need a media kit for, are you going to try to contact local radio stations? And, if your book has a specific topic that is going to be key. For example, there's one author I'm working with is working on a book that will help teachers to explain to kids about what to do in a lockdown situation. Wow, I could definitely see media, radio stations wanting to interview her about this, especially if, God forbid, it's in context to some violence that happens in a school. So she should definitely think about PR and doing a media kit to release to the media so that she can get herself on television and so that other people and teachers will know that her book exists. So these are the types of things that we talk about with, putting the marketing plan together. And don't worry, we're going to cover all of these topics. We'll cover all of this, but I'm trying to give you an overview of the types of things that you need to consider and that we will cover together in the work group. With Amazon, there's a whole slew of things that you can do in marketing. They have their own keywords that you'll set up as part of listing your book. They have ads that you can purchase, and that's, there's lots of things that go into that as well. So when we say put together a marketing plan and work through that, like I said, we have at least 2 speakers on marketing, and I'll talk to you about marketing plans and activities that'll go into your eventual launch plan. A communication plan, I know this is a project management term, but I think about it a little bit differently than some of the other plans, so I kind of wanted to go through this. You're going to want to communicate a lot, whether that means on social media with, sneak peeks of, hey, I've got a cover reveal, or here's my cute little character that my illustrator just finished. Isn't that cool? You want to kind of take your audience and your followers on your journey, because engaging with people is what is going to help them to want to follow you and be a fan and sign up and buy your book. So there's, things you can do on social media. There's also, when you're ready and you've got your book, you'll be able to do a mailing to schools. That's a way to communicate so that you can set up school meetings. Some people call schools and schedule meetings. I do send out a monthly newsletter. To me, that's, something that I like to do. And I don't want to be inundating people with constant emails from me. So I think a monthly newsletter is what I try to do to give them ideas of what's going on and maybe new opportunities or new downloads that they might want to check out. For a website is also an area where, if you don't have one, you should have at least an author page. But website communications and, keeping that up to date is also a part of your communication. Some websites have blogs. I do. I'm probably not nearly as good at blogging. I'm not as good with doing it regularly as I should be. but that is another way for you to communicate. And it also is another way for your articles and the things that you write to be indexed by Google, so that when people are searching for children's books about a certain topic, if you're blogging and you're writing articles, or you've got website, things on your website, then there's a higher chance that they'll find you. So you'll be able to get additional people and additional traffic to your book. There's also libraries and bookstores, lots of communication that you can do. I will share with you things that I put together as templates, and you can go ahead and take mine and modify them and use them for your own purposes. I have no problem with that. I did have a lot of work to put some of these things together. I've got press release examples and stuff like that. So as part of what you get from this work group, you'll get those templates and tools as well. Press release, I talked about. Articles, I do, for example, I submit articles to a magazine called Mom's Favorite Reads, and they do publish my articles. So again, it's gives me an opportunity to get noticed by people who may not automatically stumble across my work. Book awards and communications about book awards. So for example, we recently ended up as a finalist for Wishing Shelf Book Awards, and then I got a 5-star award for reader's favorite for my brand new book, which is not yet illustrated. So when I got that award, first of all, you got to submit for the award, but once you get the award, it's an opportunity to communicate with your followers. Maybe post an email blast to people to let them know that it happened. And you can also use the award to now say, I'm an award-winning, and don't forget, you're going to be an award-winning, best-selling author. So that's the goal. Bookstores, I thought I might have already, and then there's other retailers. So there's so much communication. You're going to have to learn to do communication. If you're shy and you don't like to put yourself out there publicly, I'm like that at times. You have to practice, and practice. The more you communicate, the easier communication will get. If you are somebody that doesn't mind doing videos of yourself, Facebook Live is an amazing opportunity, because every single time you go live on your Facebook, everybody that is your friend gets a notification that you're live. So they'll see and they'll drop in, and especially like, hey, I just got an award, or hey, look, my book just came in, look, doesn't it look great? So don't be afraid to communicate. It's going to be really important for you to have a successful book. So lots of planning, lots of communicating, and like I said, don't get over. There's a lot that goes into things, but we'll be able to support you through the whole process. I do have a couple of more topics to go through, and I'm afraid that I'm at the top of the hour. It seems to be taking longer for me to get through all this than I thought it would. So my apologies for that. If you do need to drop, you can feel free to go ahead and do that, and you'll get the full replay that you can, for anything that you've missed. And for those of you that are willing or able to stay later, then feel free to stay with me. Anybody have questions on the planning process? Okay, go ahead, Leslie.
When you say planning process, do you go in order of what needs to be done? Or do you jump about? You can do this, you can do that. I mean, is there a structure to the planning process? Don't go here until you've done this.
There is, and I think a lot of it depends on your goals above. For example, if you've not yet started to write your book, then you're not going to be doing any resource planning. So there's a lot of back and forth. There are some times when you'll want to start thinking right off the bat of how are you going to get your author platform. Like that is something you want to be doing right now, and start thinking about that right now, and always thinking of ways you can continue to engage people who will become your fans, give you your emails, and support you. Things like crowdfunding, if it doesn't apply or you're not ready for that, you don't have to worry about that. So the planning process goes, comes and goes, and you'll jump back and forth into that as we kind of go through the whole thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so the fun part is creating and publishing the book, right? That's what we want to be doing. And many of you are starting at the top here with writing your story. I'm going to just move this down a little bit. So when you think about writing the story, many of you have already got a story written that is in various different stages, and you'll want to be able to get the help to get through this. Do you need writing assistance? Do you need a critique? Beta readers that are going to help and give you like an advanced reader that will provide feedback for you. And besides the story itself, there are other things that you need to write also for your book, which is the dedication page, the copyright and acknowledgments, about the author, illustrator, like these things, the title page, you also want to create those as well before you're actually ready to publish or move forward to the next step. So all of this goes into the process as well. And then once your story is written, the next piece of it is the professional editing. Just because you have friends, family, read the book, in some cases, you'll have a critique group that gives you a critique. It's not enough. If you really want a professional book that's not obviously self-published, you need to have a professional editor. And I'm glad to say Bobby Hinman is a professional editor, and there's also a few others that I can give you as an option for your own books as well. So you definitely do not want to skip that process. Illustrations, we will do a lot of hand-holding through helping you find an illustrator and helping you work through the process. I'm going to bring illustrators in for you so you do not feel overwhelmed by this. You're gonna get the help you need. But typically the process around illustrations starts with character design. You'll go through a few different illustrators that I give you or that you find yourself. Look at their portfolios, and if you find, whittle it down to a couple that you like the best and that you think you'd like to work with, and ask them for a character design. They will design the characters, use your feedback. Some of them will do it at no charge for a character design. Some of them will charge you $20, $30, $50 to get that character design. I would say it's a must. You really want to do that. Because if you do not have your character, have them go through that process and you just look at their portfolio, it's not enough. It's not going to give you a sense for how is this illustrator going to translate your character, your ideas. I had a very special character in my dog, and I wanted an illustrator that was going to get my vision out of my head and onto the paper. So that's the first process, is character designs. After that, storyboarding comes into place, which is they will create kind of a story map for you, a story flow with very rough sketches that will show how is your book going to look beginning to end. And that's wonderful. It's not going to get the real detailed colored sketches, but it's going to take all of your pages and put them in very rough sketches. And when we go through this in the author work group, I'm going to share with you my examples of my storyboards for Puppy Pickup Day. My illustrator typically comes in and joins us and talks about the process we went through. So that's another opportunity for you to see how what does storyboard look like and all of that. Okay. Then they move to color illustrations. They do some rough sketches and then color those sketches. As they finish, or sometimes, you might want to start on cover design even prior to them doing the full filling all of the colored illustrations, but that's another part of the illustrations. They'll do the front and back covers. And that's it for the illustrations. Design and formatting for your book comes into play as well. There are some illustrators that will say, I can design and format your book too. And if that's the case and they're able to do it, that's wonderful. You don't need a separate resource. Myself, I've found that illustrators are not really the best when it comes to design. And when I say design, I mean the typeface to use, how to lay out, take their beautiful illustration of your cover and lay out your title, your author and illustrator name, use the right fonts and colors to complement the illustration, and mark up a few different options for your topics, for your cover. The designer also looks at things like your inner pages, what text, what size, what color are you going to use that are going to complement, and where are they going to, where's the text going to go? So part of that, all of that is really the designer that does that typically. And I will have designers coming in and talking about the graphic design process, and we'll also give you a few referrals of people who you can use as designers, or you can find your own. Preparation for launch, which is, writing the copy for your book, the blurb that's going to go on Amazon, developing creative like the sell sheet, your bookmarks, things like that, tablecloths, signs, postcards. So a lot of this is just launch preparations. We have formal publishing and launching. I'm going to go back for a second here to design and formatting. So besides the design part of this, the other piece is formatting your actual files. So the designer will take all the illustrations, lay it out in a software program, and then export the files that you need for Amazon or for your printer. They help you with all of that. Or there are tools out there for those of you who are technical that you can use to do the same thing yourself. So there is an option if you have that skill set. Again, you don't have to hire a graphic designer, but actually preparing your files into the exact format that's needed for posting will then become an important part of what the designer does or what you can do using special software. And then we publish and we take a big exhale, and then we think we want to make sure that all of our launch planning and all of the things that we talk about around communications, that we've done such a good job with that on day one, when people are ready for pre-orders and then the book goes live and people are buying it, you can then a day or two later look with a big smile on your face as your Amazon shows that you're a best-selling author in that category, and you can start to see sales coming from your book immediately. Any questions on kind of what we've gone over up until this point?
I know you're going to get to this later. But if I am looking for, sorry, those are my boys in the background.
No worries at all.
Looking for an illustrator and I see that they work with an agency, what is is that something that I'm like, that will be a harder illustrator to get? Or is that just that someone who is organized and has someone helping them?
I think a lot of illustrators I work with do also work with agencies. Many of them will either work with an agency or they will work, and sometimes they'll do both and then they'll work as a freelancer as well. But if you decide, no, I only work through this agency, it just means you have to contact the agency to work with them. I don't think it anything negative, although I'll be there to, help look over any contract or anything they give you to just make sure that there's nothing to worry about from, that your benefit, own the license, the artwork. And, I definitely recommend that you watch out for your own interests as far as making sure that the illustrator doesn't hold on to the artwork licensing. And that's why I share my contract with you so that you can make sure that you're negotiating all of those things that are really important for an author.
Okay. And when you reach out to them, would you send a query letter with that, or?
No, I typically just contact people through instant messenger on Facebook or whatever. But we'll also be bringing illustrators in to talk to our group, and we have we have one that I've worked with a lot that will kind of go through the whole process and also even give you pricing. Let's say he has a big portfolio that he'll walk through about the different styles that they work on. They have like 17 different illustrators that they employ.
Okay.
So he'll go through the portfolio and we'll say this style is about $30 a page. This style is about $50 a page. So he can give you a sense of, you know, what you would need for a budget depending on what you like.
Very cool. Okay, and I will wait until that week, and I won't contact anyone until then.
No problem. And if you know, if you want to do, if you're interested in starting that earlier, just put a one-on-one on my calendar, and we will talk through it, and I can get you started earlier with it.
Okay. Thank you.
So advertising, marketing, and sales. We talked about this a lot throughout, you know, all the different things. But once your book is published, now what, right? You need to make sure that you're getting the word out and that you are executing on the marketing plan you put together. But there's also ads to run. There's events to attend. You know, you might want to have a book launch event. You might want to start scheduling school visits. And then you're going to want to monitor your ad performance, your book sales, and then analyze and adjust as you go. And that's it. That's the process. That's the many things that go into creating and launching a book. I know it's overwhelming. It's huge, right? It's really huge. But that's why I pulled this group together, because it really can be overwhelming. There's a lot that goes into it, but you can be successful. And I cannot wait to be the first one to click that buy on your book and to help see you get where you need to be and just play a part in that. So I'm really excited. Try not to be overwhelmed. Take a deep breath. And if you want to schedule some time, you can drop in to Thursday's evening's meeting if you want to talk specifically about your issues. I'm fine to stay a little here if anybody wants to talk specifically about their activities as well. And you're going to have lots of support. I have the one-on-one coaching. You can choose a time that fits your schedule. So if the evening hours and the Tuesday meetings aren't good for you, and you really just want one-on-one because you've got a unique circumstance, then I am glad to support that. Okay. That's all I have as far as this goes, but I do want to open it up for questions. And let me go back. Okay. So any other questions, either on anything I've gone over or anything I haven't covered that you have questions about?
You didn't talk too much about setting up an author page.
Okay. It is definitely, I think I highlighted website as an important part of communications.
Right. But I'm talking about the Amazon author page.
Yeah. That's probably a good thing I should add in just to make sure. But yes, you can set up your author page on Amazon whenever you're ready to do that. You also have the ability to set up an author page on sites like Goodreads.
Oh, okay.
And there are associations that you can join as an author that will also give you an author page that you can provide. For example, the Authors Guild is one that I joined. And they have, you can have a one-page author site, or you can have, up to, I think, 5 or so pages, real investment. I think it's like $6 a month or something. And then there's more complex, I am an IT professional and I have no problem sharing my knowledge. One of the topics we do cover is easy websites for authors. So I have a whole session that I go through some of the really easy ones you can create your author site yourself. And I'm also there to provide author services for anybody who'd like help setting up a web page.
Well, I have a website I set up a long time ago, but it really needs to be revamped.
Okay.
I put a lot of my rhymes and just little things and illustrations on it for free.
Yep.
But I've got things starting to happen really fast now. I'm going to be in an anthology with some other
Nice.
authors. And my little story is about being an independent author.
Okay.
And in it, I get to have a link to my book and website, whatever. I guess it's the book I put in. But I have a book, but I didn't ever really take it anywhere or do anything with it. And I need to do a lot of revamping there too. But
Okay.
I'll take whatever exposure I can get in the meantime, but it really needs like a book cover done professionally and
Okay.
no internal things that link back to the website or anything like that.
Okay. I think that's, that's certainly something that we can chat about if you'd like to hang out toward the end of the meeting or if you want to go into another session. But you will definitely get help with and ideas on being able to create. Anybody else have any questions? Just let everybody know, this is Bobby Hinman, and she is going to be our special guest speaker next week, so next Thursday. She is an amazing multi-award winning author and editor extraordinaire. So she is going to talk, probably going to be 2 weeks, where she'll talk about the do's and don'ts of writing, how to write a good story, how you can, the types of things you should think about editing for your own story, like, your words that are way overused, things like that. So it's going to be an awesome couple of weeks. So don't forget to tune in for that. And then, is there anybody that has not yet purchased the book? If you haven't, I would say go ahead and purchase that because there is a reading assignment on there. Drop in on Tuesday. And
I'm unclear. I know I'm going to miss a few sessions while I'm on vacation. When I come back, how do I come to the Tuesday session to see those, or do I just lose those?
so this is our message board. When you log in the first time, it'll come up and say, it'll want you to log in the first time you get in. You can choose to just log in with your Facebook user ID and password, or you can create your own user ID and password for the site. I just choose to stick with my Facebook. You could choose Facebook or Google so that you don't have to worry about remembering anything different. So here is a couple things, like you can go into welcome and introductions. So every week it has its own thread in the message board. So week 1, I'm just going to click on it. This is the week we're in now. Here's a link, purchase the book. Here's a link to where you can purchase it. Introduce yourself on the welcome introduction thread. If you haven't attended the informational session, review the replay and post your comments here. So many of you are already posting. So all you have to do is click on comment, post your comments, questions. So between meetings, I do monitor this message board. But when I get off of this group today, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add, here's a replay to the link. Here's a link to the replay of week 1 session. So you'll be able to come right onto the message board, click the replay. If we ever share any templates or slides, I also put a link to a copy of the slides or any template that we have as well that we share. So this will be the part of our structure that we use to make sure everybody has an opportunity to be connected, to get to the replays and all that.
Yes, thank you. That's great.
Good. And if you ever find yourself, lost or need have a quick question, I am available. I'm on Facebook all the time. So, whether it's a quick email or ping Facebook, if you've got something quick or you can't find something, I'm always there to help.
April, I'm sorry, where was the message board?
I'm going to send you all,
A link. Okay, sorry. Okay, thanks.
I'll send you an email that has this, but the email that you got confirming that you were in also had this message board link in it.
Okay, thank you.
But I'll resend that link again along with the link today's replay.
Thanks.
And you'll get out, that'll go out before the end of the afternoon. If you want to check it out, it's https://www.thelittlelabradoodle.com/forums. And then if you go to the forums, you'll see the summer session.
Okay.
It'll come to boards, and you'll see author work group summer. I'll send you a link directly to the summer work group. So I've got a thread for every week. And one of the ways that you can use this, like if you know you're going on vacation, you might want to look ahead and say, okay, let me see what the assignment is for the next week, because your assignments are going to be in here too. So right now, I'm going to try to get the assignments all posted so that every week you'll be able to go ahead and do your reading, or create the additional activities and things. Some people just go faster at times than others, and they want to go ahead. And if you're behind, you'll be able to see all of the activities as well as links to the replays. So
There.
everything will be there. Patty, you still have your hand raised. Are you all set? I think we're good. So guys, it was a pleasure, my pleasure, meeting all of you. And I'm really excited to see all the amazing books that you guys are going to create. So feel free, if you want to drop, go ahead and drop now. Anybody that wants to hang on
Thank you.
quickly about their particular book, then hang on. I'm here. I have nothing to, rush off to right now.
Thank you, April. This was great.
Thank you, April.
Bye, everybody.